the premiere of the LHK Conversation happened last night. And guess what the panel had to say about Tyler Perry's movie, Straw? Plot twist when she was in denial. And I was saying that I think her daughter died that night. And she was in shock. She was in so much shock that she continued her life as it was that she would normally do on her daily day. And when the guy, I said it wasn't funny, but it was funny. When she dropped her daughter off, you saw the teacher was shaking her head like I can't believe her. And my thought when she dropped her, I was like, oh my gosh, over $40 for lunch? You're shaking your head? And then when she called social service on her, that had been probably a couple of days ago, that part.
Right.
But I don't know.
Her daughter died in the custody of social services.
Right.
That's what happened because she kept saying she needs her medicine. She needs her medicine. They're not going to take care of her. They're not going to take care of her. Oh, Jesus. That would cause me to lose my mind.
Yeah.
Right.
And even when I was
take much.
Yeah. And even when I was telling my story about my husband, that's one thing to lose a spouse, but to lose a child, I don't know what that would be like. And also, too, that child was all she had.
Exactly.
And like what she was saying to the lady at the bank is nobody's ever stood with me. And so when you're a single mother and you're struggling, like you don't mind that you really don't have everything you need to have. You can't get your nails done. You can't get your hair done. You don't have the prize outfit because you know your children are first. So, yeah, I'll struggle. I'll do what I can to try to make ends meet, even when they're not meeting most of the time, as long as my daughter is good. But then when you find out that my reason for living is gone.
Absolutely.
That girl was her reason for living.
Absolutely. Yeah. That was her purpose.
How do you get up and
then, then coming home to all her stuff outside. And then the lady was like, get in the right. And she was like, I told you, you said you was coming home on your break.
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
That's what she said.
And then the cop.
I think that was the tip of the iceberg.
How did you feel about that? I'm gonna let you guys. So how did you feel about him running like the?
Yeah, he was a piece of shit. Excuse my language.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Fine. He was a scumbag. You know what I'm saying? Typical. It was a typical cop. You know what I mean? A white cop at that. They can get like that. They do shit like that. Yeah, power struggle. These guys, they get that power. You know what I'm saying? And they just go left with it. They have no remorse, no grace for anybody. They want to, the cowboy, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's just like he probably would have shot her. You understand what I truly believe it.
I believe that.
Chance. No question.
No, he would have shot her. I truly believe that.
If she would have came out of that bank, he would have shot her.
Yeah, he would have shot her. Exactly.
Right.
Absolutely.
He would have shot her at the traffic incident if he had a chance.
Exactly.
Yeah, as crazy as it sounds.
Show up.
He was like,
because what happened, I think, to be honest with you, since now I know she was having a psychotic break, she probably was driving crazy. And so in spite of her driving crazy and then him getting involved in it, and then now him saying that, how he would kill her and all this and that lady really, stepping in. Would he have killed her? Who knows? Because he was just so out of order. But also, too, I just feel like, and for even at the bank, he knew when she was saying, get rid of that cop, get rid of that cop. He knew it was him.
Right.
Yeah, he good.
But see, and I don't think you guys, I don't know if you noticed like the most powerful, I think the scene in there, and we use them every day, you know what I'm saying? And we're on it all the time. You know what I mean? But what was the most powerful tool in that to get that message out?
The phone.
Yeah.
The phone.
So
see what I'm saying?
Social media.
Had that not been no phone there, how do you think that situation would have been played out?
He would have killed her.
Exactly. This is what I'm trying to say. Like I said, the phone and all that, it's a gift and a curse. This movie has a lot of gems in it that I think a lot of people aren't really paying attention to.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I truly believe that. And it's like I said, and at the end of the day, we all know it's about like showing grace and it's some type of mercy. You understand what I mean?
Right.
And it's because you don't know what anybody's going through.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's a prime example.
I think the problem that people are having with the movie is that some people, not all people, but some people are having a problem with the movie is that any one of those things would have pushed them over the edge. Losing a child, losing their job, the police threatening to kill them, going to the bank. Now, matter of fact, them firing you when you're supposed to get your check and then say the check is going to be in the mail.
Giving you your check.
Oh my gosh.
Then the bank teller. Then the bank teller knew who she was, because if the manager knew that she was there, she'd been coming. So now all of a sudden she's like, come on, you've cashed my check for me before. Nah, not this time. So now you've been waiting for this check. Everybody's hounding you for it. And now you're not going to get it. Even if all the other things had not happened to her, that sometimes is enough to push somebody over the edge. If you're supposed to get your check and your check is wrong and they tell you, don't worry, we'll fix it in 2 weeks, that could push you over the edge. Yeah. So people were like, any one of those things that happened to her could have been the last straw. But for Tyler to make all of it happen back to back, that's why I feel like some people are like, come on. So you accidentally got caught up in your job getting robbed. You accidentally, well, not accidentally, but unintentionally shoot the robber, shoot your boss. Now you're at the bank. Now they think you have a bomb. So people were like, could this possibly happen to any one person all in one day? And I think that's what people are questioning. And I think
but it people don't, but it doesn't have to be that extreme.
I was just going to say that,
It could be that you woke up late and you have a very important meeting at work, and you, on your way out of the bedroom to run to the bathroom, you stump your toe, and then from there your coffee is burnt. Then from there your food is burnt, and then you somebody hit your car, or you get pulled over to get a ticket. Like, it could be, it doesn't have to be all of those extreme things.
Right.
And that's why I always say, give grace to people, because you don't know what they're experiencing. You don't know what they're going through. So for you, it's personal. And why she got to act like that? She got a disgusting attitude. Maybe her mama died this morning. Maybe her child died this morning. Have some grace. Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think what people are saying, and I think for me also too, I think, well, I mean, I understand why there had to be the robbery at the job, because otherwise, where would she have gotten the gun from to go to the bank and have all this other crazy stuff happen to her? But I just think that it kind of takes away the fact that it doesn't have to be that much that pushes you over the edge. Sometimes it's just being bullied at your job pushes you over the edge. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's the cost of medication. It's your landlord. Any one of those things. So he didn't have to throw so much on the pile. And I think that way more people would have felt it was relatable to them, that could be me. I could get caught up in this situation.
I will say this. I understand that, but I also think that in order for the community to have come out to support her the way that they did, mm-hmm. it needed to be all of that. Because take one of those things, just one of them. Mm-hmm. And who coming out to support her if she had something to do with her job being robbed? Who's coming out to support her? You acting like that. We understand your child died, but we don't shoot people because our child died. We understand that you had to pay $40. It was, I think, a culmination of all of that stuff that made people say, my God, she's had enough. Like, leave her alone.
Right.
Yeah.
But I also think that, okay, so to piggyback on what you're saying, Lisa, is the fact that Tyler Perry always comes out with Black women going through everything. And people are saying, oh, he's always saying Black women are going through everything. Our Black race is going through. But you know what? Black women, Black men are always going through something.
Exactly. I was just going to say that.
So for them to say, I'm tired of seeing that. Uh-huh. Okay, so if you're tired of seeing that, why don't we change it outside of the movie? Because we're always going through something. You understand? As a race, our patience are always tested. We have to act a certain way in the workplace. Yes. We can't express ourselves or we're going to be deemed hostile. We're going to be deemed, you're a Black woman, you got an attitude. Or Black men, I'm scared of you. I'm fearing for my life because you're Black, not because you could have had a bad day or any of those reasons. I think also even though Tyler was putting it as all of those extremes happen, but each one of those extremes can happen to each one of us at different times, except for the healing part. Like, I'm not saying this on you guys. Like, I could walk out the door and I lose my job. You walk out the door, lose your child. You like, he put all of those things into one just for us to see that each one of our lives has something significant that could be happening in our life that brings us to the edge. Like, I understand her when she said that she didn't want to have direct deposit. The reason why is because sometimes you set your bills up, and we all, like, for example, the biggest person in the world, Apple. I think that someone is sitting at the Apple desk waiting for $1 to go into your Apple account so they can.
I believe that. I truly believe that,
because if you buy anything on Apple, I've put $20 in. I'm like, you know what? Someone said, I'm gonna send you $20. All right, sure. Send me $20. My son went to get his phone fixed. So someone said, you know what? I'm gonna bless you. I'm gonna fix it for him. I'm like, really? It was like, yeah, what's your Apple account? I'm having a conversation at another time with another group of people. Before I can get off, I go and say, all right, let me take the money out of the account so I can give you the money to fix your car. Fix your phone. I look at the account, it was $12. I was like, what? And it happened just like that. I believe there is someone sitting there like, there was money. Wait, look like something's coming through. Bang, and then it hits you. So I understand her wanting our bills coming in. You get a bill that's coming in and it tries to hit your account the first time and it don't hit the first time. And then the second time, as soon as your money come in, it hits, and you could have wanted to buy some groceries for your home.
Yeah, you can't steal from Peter to pay Paul when you're on automatic debits.
Right, you cannot. So I understand why she wanted her check, so she can at least stretch her check a little bit longer and make it work. I felt bad, and now that I think about the movie over again, it showed us that she already had a breakdown. Mm-hmm. Right from the start, it showed us that she had a breakdown. We just didn't pay attention because we're talking to it. Her demeanor was so calming. It was scary. If you think about the movie, everything that she went through, any one of us would have went off at any given time. Yes, she shot her boss. Mm-hmm. But her boss prior to that had told her completely off, and then told her she wasn't going to get her check. And still she was begging. She came back and asked him for it. Then he blamed her for them getting robbed because the robber looked at her name tag. It's on her. Hello. And he blamed her for it. And then he went insult to injury and said, you know what? You're not, now I'm going to call the cops on you and say that you was a part of this robbery and you're still not getting your check. Or worse, he was saying to her, I seen you over at the bank. You were supposed to come back here. And you went to the bank. So you must still need money because you went to the bank. Not knowing the circumstances by saying she's begging him, my daughter needs her medicine. So you mean to tell me you want me, and these jobs are like that now, they want you to stand and do their work and someone could be dying.
Not only that, when she was working, and then he was like, hurry, I have these long lines. And then when she was just doing her job, the guy that threw the bottle at her, because she was trying to follow, then he wanted her to mop the floor. I was like, well, how many jobs does she have here?
That was Family Dollar, like your Dollar Tree.
But, I think also, too, in our community, and I know in Nyack that there's a family that lost their apartment in the fire and then also lost their grandma. So it's like, oh, wow, that's back to back. That's heartbreaking.
That's what we just went, because they are my neighbors. And I was just standing there doing the video and I was saying, if it isn't one thing, it's another. So, like, my heart goes out to them, because of the simple fact that things like this do happen. And it did happen. Like, they lost their grandmother and now there's a fire. and now they're losing everything in the fire, and then you gotta, if you're working, you gotta put up with your boss because now you're sitting at the job like, you know what I mean? Like your mind is racing. You have all these emotions going on, and then you got your boss or someone saying something to you, and it's like, I need a mental day, and they're not being concerned. They don't it's about them. And that's why I said, at times I understand we all need a job, but they will replace you just as fast as they hired you. And they don't care. So if you got to leave the job and do something, do it.
I don't think people realize that, though. I honestly
because
don't.
I did it. I did it.
People don't care about your problems. I tell young people that all the time. The world don't care nothing about you. They will eat you up and spit you out. They care nothing about you. If you don't care about you, no one else will care about you. Period. Nope. Oops. I need a mental health day. I'm taking off. And I've been self-employed for over 20 years. There's a reason.
But I don't tell them I'm taking off. I just call them sick.
I got a call at 4:00 one morning. My daddy died. I got my kids dressed, put us all in the car, left my husband because he couldn't take off work. And I divorced him soon after that. Put my kids in the car and drove all the way to Maryland with tears streaming down my face because my father died. I didn't get back to work for 2.5 weeks. If he was going to fire me, he would have had to fire me because that's my father. And I had 3 kids. Oops. It would have just had to work itself out. But everybody can't do that.
Right.
But also too, that's another
was paying all the bills. I don't know that I could have done it.
And I think also too that with a lot of jobs, when you lose your mother, your grandmother, your father, they're like, all right, 5 days, we'll see you back. And that's definitely not enough time to grieve anyone.
You needed 2.5 weeks.
But I'm just saying your job usually be like, listen, we give you 3 to 5 days. We expect you to come back. If you don't come back, now you can take your time if you got time on the books. But, the fact that they're only giving you
3 days.
3 days. 3 days for bereavement.
Because I will tell you, when I was grieving my husband, I wasn't right in the head for a long time. And they should have known that. They probably did.
But they don't care. And that's why I can understand, I'm just I'm replaying parts in the movie in my head. And it's like, she already snapped already.
We didn't know that's why she was sweating like that. So,
oh yeah, that too.
Because it's like, well, what in the world is going on? Why is she sweating like that? And what's going on? But when you find out in hindsight that there was something going on with her,
because I kept saying that too, like, girl, wipe your side.
Right. I mean, it's just like she was at a breaking point, and that's what causes it. They say that's one of the symptoms.
Yeah. And the cop, he was like, say something, everybody was daring her to say, that whole day, they were daring her to say something. And then after the little crap landlord saw her on the TV, that's when she was feeling bad and looking stupid. And I also want to commend Tyler because he put Sinbad in his movie. That was awesome.
Yeah. I thought that was dope.
And he's been through a lot. And him being in that wheelchair symbolized him being homeless. All of that like you said, Jamal, he had so many gems in that movie. Yeah,
that's what I said. I mean, a lot of people, don't just watch it for all the theatrics, but just watch it and pay attention to what's, you know what I mean? Like how this, you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta it's good to watch for the entertainment and all that, but you can learn from some of this stuff. It's as crazy as it sounds, you know what I mean? Especially because I'm heavy on psychology. I just got to go back to school and finish. I just never, went back and finished. Should. But I love psychology, and that's how I perceive the movie. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because I'm looking at the mental part of it. I'm looking at, well, damn, look what's going on. You know what I'm saying? That would drive anybody crazy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And of course, capitalism is at the totem pole of it. That definitely played a part in it. You understand what I'm saying? It's always the dark hand. Yeah. That's it's the shadow hand that nobody really never sees. It's that damn hand. Capitalism. Yep, that hand. Too. Yeah. Yep. The white hand. Yeah, 100%. Let's see, we can go there too. And that's the sad part. You understand what I'm saying? And again, it's just like everybody keeps saying he keeps making the same movies, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, you know what? and like you said earlier, Taika, yeah, because this is what a lot of us are actually going through. Just because it's not happening to you directly, not just, and I'm not wishing this on anybody. Just because it ain't happening to you doesn't mean it's not happening. You understand what I'm saying? And one thing I like to touch on too is too many of us like to live in denial. I hate that shit. Absolutely. That shit pisses me off. I'm just like, if you're an in denial person, yo, I can't really talk to you. I can talk to you, but there's only for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But then that's it. You know what I mean? Because then it's just like we just go back and forth, and you know, it's just not gonna. We just not gonna see eye to eye. And when and you know, I've had friends like that, and when some bad shit happened to them, they want to talk about it. And you know what? Sometimes it's just like I don't want to be the guy that told you so. And it's like I'm telling you so. You know, because this is stuff that we talk about. And, you know, when I go back to my old community, Gessner, and I be trying to, and they want to be like, oh, nah. Then after that, these guys are all roped up in some dumb shit, or cops pulling them over for some dumb shit. And I'd be like, well, you know, I told you. You understand what I'm saying? You're just not, you don't want to pay attention. You want to live in naive. You want to be naive and you want to live in denial. Keep living in denial, and these things will keep happening to your ass. That's just it.
Well, when I think about her, I don't even remember her name in the movie.
Janiyah,
and that's my
Janiyah.
Oh, the fact that I don't even remember Janiyah. Yeah. I think sometimes, I'll say this, sometimes denial is the safest place to exist.
I get it.
When you have to realize all of the stuff that you've got to deal with or that is all around you, denial is sometimes the safest place to be. And no, you can't stay there forever. But for right now, listen.
That's where she was at in the movie.
She manifested. Right. Denial is the safest place. It was safe for her to be in denial until it wasn't.
Correct. Right. Yes.
Because if you can agree, like, Lisa, if you can agree, like, when her mother was like, her mother wasn't the best with breaking the news again.
No.
But
they set her up for that. He said, bring it in. I didn't know what that meant.
I thought he was saying just storm into the bank.
That's when the mother called her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because at first they wouldn't turn her cell phone on. That's why I was like, well, how her mother got through? Because they wasn't going to let her get the picture of the cop via cell phone. And I said, they picked the wrong time. Then I realized the FBI was over there. The FBI agent was horrible also. He was mean.
But again, they don't know how to deal with situations like that. You know, you got to like it. And it's like I said, think about it. Most white people don't understand us. You understand what I'm saying? Especially when we are going actually through it. They just, a lot of them don't see it. You know what I mean? There are studies on this. They can't relate. They can't. That's the thing. I say it's the truth. There are studies on this.
Yeah.
Right, because when white people go through things, white people fix it.
Right.
When black people go through things, other black people are going through their own stuff. They can't fix it.
Right.
They can do nothing. They can't help. They can't contribute. The people in her neighborhood couldn't help her pay a rent so she could stay in her apartment.
They all living on the same property level.
All dealing with this. Listen, I had a case once. It was a very, very tragic case. A woman died. Her children died. Her son lived. And everybody struggled. So nobody could help anybody else. The grandmother couldn't help the grandson. The uncle couldn't help the sister. And that was the personification of, oh my God. Everybody struggled. Nobody can comfort or help anybody else through that grief because everybody's suffering the same. That's the manifestation in our communities. Right. Can't nobody help nobody else. They can't pay their own rent. How they gonna help her? Yeah, they feel sorry for her. And even though she took her money and gave it to the homeless man, she gave him her last because she wanted him to eat.
Yeah.
She also thought she was gonna get a check that day.
Also, yes. I think also too, when people have multiple things where you will see that even CPS, like there could be a kid that's in a car accident with the mother and the mother dies. And then the kid is struggling and the grandmother's trying to raise them and the grandma's struggling. Everybody's struggling with grief. But what CPS will do for you is they'll file a petition, educational neglect. Now, they're not telling you that, hey, listen, it's not educational neglect. The whole family is grieving. The child was in the car with the mother. How long was the mother dead in the car with the child? Can we get the child some counseling? But instead of that, it's like, now we're going to add to your plate because now you got to take off from work. Now you got to come to court. And now we got to ask you why you a horrible grandmother that you can't get this kid, to go to school. So, I mean, I see that people have multiple layers of what the system will put them through. I thought the movie was hard for me to watch. And I'm going to tell you, I had to watch this movie in 3 sections because for me, I have a heart for people and I know what it was like to raise my kids. And I'm a grandmother now. And just seeing the way she had to bathe her child in that little dirty bathtub was really bothering me, and the lunch money, and then going to school, and then the boss giving her a hard time. That in itself was enough for me for her to just snap. I didn't even need the rest of everything else that happened to her because I understood that and I could identify with it.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep Saturday. I watched it Saturday night and shit. I had a flag game in the morning. It was hard for me to sleep because just looking at that, it was just like, damn, you know what I'm saying? If even like, my mom, her struggles and things like that, you understand? And it was just like it's an eye opener. Yeah, it's just like, it's an eye opener. It's very, and some people, I know some friends that they couldn't watch it. They were just telling me because it's too relatable. And it's kind of triggering and it's relatable and they just couldn't.
Yeah, I
programmed all over the place.
Yeah, I programmed it Friday. I was just watching it as soon as it came out and I was like, oh my God. Like the part that I definitely can relate to was the CPS part. Like they just came that like just I know the school is obligated. They're mandated reporters. I know that. But they didn't want to have a conversation with her about the bruises and they knew that she had a disease. Because when you're in school, they know, like there's medical stuff that they have to know because if your child falls or, anything that happens to your child, they need to know these things. And instead, she was saying to them, she fell and they didn't care.
No, they added to it. They said, not only did she fall, but she's dirty and she's hungry.
Yes,
exactly.
And that within itself is like how you say, I can see if you see a child being abused or you know that a child is being abused.
Correct.
And you see that. Why would you then in turn say, I'm going to call CPS on this woman, make her life even more worse?
I can tell you why. I will tell you
Please.
why. I will tell you why, because sometimes, like, say, for instance, if you're in a profession where you hear lots of horror stories about kids back to back to back to back,
exactly.
There are some little red flags that you'll hear in a story. And for me, you don't have to be Black. You don't have to be poor. But if I hear in your story you saying, oh, and the father's abusing the mother in front of the kids and the kids are watching this and then the kids are afraid or the kids are whatever, there could be some little code words, or if people are in the house and they're doing drugs and the kids are witnessing it. I myself will be like, you know what? I'm flagging this for CPS because you know what? It's not going to be on my watch if that kid is over there witnessing all these different things and nobody's looking into it. It's for CPS to go over there and make sure he's safe and be like, all clear. Or one person is supposed to have custody of the child. They talk about they don't know where the child is. The child's over with some other relative. Well, when's the last time you seen the kid? I don't know. All right. Well, I'm going to flag you. I'm flagging you for CPS because I need to know the kid is okay.
Yeah, and that's
the kid is hungry. Hold on 1 second. Bruises, the kid is hungry, the kid looks dirty. If the mother's a crackhead, that's the same reality. If the mother's a crack addict and she's selling the baby for drugs, it's the same reality. So I think they went a bit far in terms of how they fed the information, but everybody thinks that they should have gone there to investigate. Removal, maybe not, but investigation.
No. Yeah, investigate. I can see them investigating. Yes, I agree with that.
But to remove,
but to remove the child, because they're supposed to make sure that their job is to make sure the child stays in the family. Mm-hmm. That was the original. Yes, unless
make
the child's
sure the
being
child
abused,
is safe is first.
Right, but that part. But they want to make sure that they want to keep the child with the family unless the child's being abused there. But they are supposed to offer services, even parenting services and resources for the parent to get the help before they remove the child. None of those things.
Right.
It is.
I don't think that's right. CPS.
It is. I went through it. I went through it.
The child's safe.
Yes. No, I understand that. The safety of the child. Yes. Yes, I agree with that. That is the number one thing. But they are still supposed to help with resources. That I know for a fact. The child is safe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, yeah.
They may even give you a housekeeper. They can give you all kinds of stuff. That's not like it's not called a housekeeper, but something where some home services where they come in and try to help you get yourself together.
Right.
Yeah. But to not investigate her and the school to just as the woman, I felt like the woman was about to listen to her. But then she was like, and she's dirty, and she's this. Like she was, I don't know. I felt like she was hoping that her child was taken away from her. That's how I saw it. And they didn't even take in consideration that this child, like there's so many different things. Like the medication was one, like helping her get the medication for her child so she wouldn't die. And then you take a child out of the custody of their parent who's trying to help them with medication, and you end up being the hand that helps the child die.
But remember, these agencies don't invite themselves into our homes. And I've gone through that as well.
CPS. No, I get that part. But once they took her away, they were supposed to make sure she got medication. Like they were supposed to make sure that child got medication.
Absolutely. I'm not challenging any of that. I think the fact that she was removed, knowing all that we know, is a travesty.
Yeah.
Right.
But prior to knowing all that we knew, this child needed to be made safe, and they needed to make sure that she was safe. And sometimes removal is the only way to guarantee that the child is safe. And then once you realize the child is safe, you set up the services that are necessary to help the child stay in the home. But I think
in this case, I do believe what she's saying about how there were ways they could have worked with the mother, and they could have tried to find ways for the child to be able to have some kind of health care and to be able to, have the necessary food, free lunch or whatever, and get your caseworker on and figuring out how do you support this mother and child to be able to stay together if possible.
You know how that all could have been avoided? The mother could have reached out for services.
Who's to say she did it?
Because she didn't have them.
I think reaching out for services, they'll tell you no. But once you're in trouble, they'd be like, here's some services.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think we have to be more proactive in our communities. And we have to be able to reach out she could have gotten Medicaid. She didn't have insurance. She said something about insurance. So she could have applied for free lunch for her daughter. She was a single mother.
I think she said that no one would help her. That's what she said.
But even if you're looking at now with what they're doing with the free lunches being done away with,
absolutely.
And you're seeing a lot of these child care programs are being done away with.
Yeah.
Alabama's having an issue with their health care because they lost $190 million grant. So these people are going to be going.
Well, that's what Alabama gets because they didn't want to voluntarily participate in Medicaid. So
and our elderly people, you're going to start to find out that they're going to start cutting back on some of their medications that they take also. My father's a veteran.
Wait. I want to just say this before we cut off, that we can pay for lunch for kids in school. Let's not just take this movie and not do anything proactively. Let's find kids that we could pay for their lunch for a week, for 2 weeks, for 3 weeks, for 4 weeks. Let's do something with the information now that we've got it.
How do we research that?
We contact the schools.
Okay.
Contact the schools. We don't need to know kids' names. We just need to have 5 kids that we can pay for their lunch. That's it.
Okay. I can commit to that.
Children that are in the rears, like that poor girl.
Yes, kids in the rears. Yeah. And the school year is over, so we'll have to wait till September, but we can do it.
Right. Okay. We can do it. All right. Well, guys, this has been a really nice conversation, and we will reconvene another time. I will give you the dates. Thank you all for coming to the new podcast that I created. I appreciate you guys as being my guests. I felt it was very important to have you guys on because I do feel like each one of us have a different point of view, and we'll get our views across and also possibly have solutions to some of the things that are going on. Thank you so much. And thank you for listening, and thank you for being a part of the LHK conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, I will speak to you later.
Have a good night,
Thank you, everybody.